Welcome to Northwest Aerospace News Live. I am Jennifer Ferrero, a writer for the magazine and your host. In today's episode, we are talking with Jason Petrait, Executive Director of the Center of Excellence for Aerospace and Advanced Manufacturing. Let's welcome today's guest, Jason. Welcome.
Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for having me.
Jason, thank you for coming on the show. We look forward to learning more about the Center of Excellence for Aerospace and what's new with the organization. Jason, as you may know, I worked with the organization for several years and am familiar with your workforce development work, but I haven't kept up on the COE for a little while. What's the main purpose of the COE and who are your audiences?
Yes, so the Center of Excellence is hosted at Everett Community College, and we see our audiences as two. One is industry and employers, and the other is community colleges. Those two audiences are groups that we work closely with to make sure that industry is getting the skilled technicians that they need, and that community colleges are teaching what they need to teach to make sure that industry is getting the folks that they need. And it's been interesting over the past year that I've been in this role that both groups have come to me with the same question. And the question is, where are the people? We're looking for skilled technicians. Colleges come to me and say, we're looking for future students. And it's been interesting to track this question over the past year plus to try and figure out where are the people, whether it's post-pandemic, whether it's demographic changes, whether it's interest in the industry, really trying to solve that question for both of those audiences.
I have heard that, Jason, that there is a challenge in the workforce in hiring people for manufacturing. So I'm looking forward to learning more about how you are solving that problem. What's a recent project that makes you proud?
So we had a recent project back in October. October marked National Manufacturing Day. It was the first Friday of October. And part of the Center of Excellence's role is to work statewide. So not just focused on Boeing, not just focused on Everett or Western Washington, but ensuring that we're reaching audiences and employers and community and technical colleges all across the state. So we've really wanted to have a focus on the Spokane Valley, and we identified Manufacturing Day as an opportunity to do that. We partnered with the Inland Northwest Aerospace Consortium and the Spokane Chamber, and then we brought Northwest Aerospace News along to take videos and pictures like the one you're seeing right there out in front of the bus. It's myself, folks from the Chamber, as well as from the Inland Northwest Aerospace Consortium. We got 25 juniors and seniors together, got them on a bus, and took them around to 3 local manufacturers. It was a really compelling day for the young people. I had a chance to speak with an employer during it and he said, these kids are asking great questions. They're really interested in what we're doing. And credit to the Skills Center instructor, credit, of course, to the students themselves and young people themselves. But they were asked smart questions. They were interested. They were curious about what was going on right around them in the Spokane Valley. It was really a highlight. In the middle of the day, we stopped for pizza, and I was reminded of, oh yes, this is what teenagers are like. I pretty much had to elbow myself to make sure that I was able to get a slice of pizza. But I got lunch, and they got a lot out of the day, and it was really exciting to be able to sponsor that, connect with young people in the Spokane Valley as well as organizations there.
Do you remember any of the comments from the students as to what they said about that day?
I do, yeah. I was, I always kind of kept my ear out and tried to listen as they were talking to one another, because if I asked them, I might get a canned, boring answer. But in hearing them talk to each other, they were mostly impressed by the scale of things. So, for example, one of the manufacturers we visited was doing infrastructure projects, and they were just amazed at how once you walk up to these things, this was aluminum smelting. Yeah, great photo there. Aluminum smelting equipment that works on the aluminum. They were just amazed by the scale of it. You can see this stuff in a photograph or at a distance, but once you're up next to it, and so they could see this, both the scale and also the complexity of it. And what was really neat to me was to see them understand that connection between what they're learning in the classroom and how that actually applies in industry.
Correct. And we have hundreds of manufacturers here in Washington State that are doing aerospace and advanced manufacturing work. So there's plenty of opportunity, I imagine, for these youth to look at employment.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
your 2023 work plan on your website indicates that you're involved with the Department of Commerce and UAS activities. It looks like more work is going into uncrewed systems, which I assume means UAS to some extent.
Mhm.
Tell me more about what that means and your involvement.
Yes, so UAS are uncrewed aerial systems. We've gotten rid of unmanned and called them uncrewed now. More inclusive terminology and naming for this. It's been fascinating to join into this world. Uh, I am a co-facilitator of USIC, which is the Uncrewed Systems Industry Council, and that's with Washington State Department of Transportation and Department of Commerce, as you mentioned. The three of us come together to host quarterly meetings for industry to make sure that they're getting what they need in this emerging industry. And as we look at an emerging industry, it's been fascinating for me to come into this and see because it's clear that there's not the there some folks are waiting on policy. They're waiting on understanding what's allowed around airports. FAA rules are at present very strict, and they'd like to see a loosening or some clarification of FAA rules, followed on by Washington State Department of Transportation rules, allowing for more research and development, building corridors for uncrewed aerial systems and their vehicles. This is the kind of thing that you see Amazon talk about, future shipping, that kind of thing. And we feel a real necessity to get this policy right, but also to get it done because other states are getting ahead of Washington State as far as their research and development and their infrastructure. And it is a real race between states to see who's going to be the leader. When we're such a leader in aerospace, we've got so much infrastructure here, so much knowledge, so much history in this area. It would make sense that the uncrewed system should really come from Washington State as well.
Interesting. Now, when I was involved with the Center of Excellence, I know that we went to a lot of trade shows. So, how
Mhm.
is the COE representing at trade shows and conferences in the Pacific Northwest and beyond this year? And what outcomes do you expect through these engagements?
I wanted to be really circumspect and thoughtful when I came into this job and not just go to, for example, every conference I went to in my previous job or every conference that I could possibly go to. It's imperative that I get out there and talk to employers, understand what industry needs, and this is a real opportunity to do that at conferences. So I've done two things. One is um, kept it really local as much as possible. And that is attending things like PNA Advanced, the I-90 Aerospace Corridor. The other, like the photo that you see there, had an opportunity to go to the Farnborough Air Show in London. And that was fun and fascinating, something I hadn't done. I went with the Snohomish County contingent. So the head of the airport at at Paine Field here just across the street, as well as the head of the Economic Alliance of Snohomish County. And that was really about business engagement and the opportunity to get businesses excited about either expanding in Snohomish County or having the opportunity to move to Snohomish County. So it was an economic development conversation that we were having with employers. And I can't, I keep thinking back and laughing. We sat down with an employer and they said, it's great to see you, local aerospace company. They said, oh, well, you're at Paine Field. You know, we're just down the street in Mukilteo. We're on the other side of the world in a very hot tent in outside of London, England. But sometimes that is what you have to do to make those connections and find those folks down the street that want to hire our students, want to connect with community colleges. Um, so excited about the local opportunities as well as more broadly this upcoming year. And it's really for me about getting to know employers and industry, making sure they know who we are and how we can help them.
Yes, I greatly remember actually the Ivors in Mukilteo and how much I love visiting that. Every time I would come into town, we'd usually try to get a trip into Ivors, the
Right.
nicer one, not the fast food Ivors. It was great fun. So Kelty will remember that. Well, tell
Excellent.
me about the statewide centers of excellence and the model and
Hmm.
any new COEs or upcoming changes to that model.
Sure. So we are one of 12 centers of excellence, and we are industry focused. Mine is aerospace and advanced manufacturing, but we have centers in construction, healthcare, IT, agriculture, supply chain, and so on. So the industries that really dominate in Washington state. Last year, our state legislature recognized that cybersecurity is an emerging industry both across the world and here in Washington state. and they funded a new cybersecurity center of excellence. So there are now 12 centers of excellence. We are dotted across the state, and we're all hosted at colleges, and we're often at community colleges, and we're often hosted at the community college that has the some of the best programs. So, for example, makes sense for us to be hosted at Everett Community College with their AmTech Center in Everett, as well as their aviation programs here at Paine Field behind me. So that way, we're really connected to industry. When I say Boeing's across the street, Boeing really is just across the street.
Right. Well, that's great. Now, are you able to use Paine Field to fly to other locations?
I I have not yet, and I really, really want to. The airport is the new terminal, as folks probably know. It just opened a few years ago, and it's really picked up steam in the past few years. Um, there are flights across the West Coast. They keep adding locations, including Anchorage recently, which is very exciting. And I tried to make it work out to one of those times I was headed out to Spokane as we really connect with Eastern Washington. That's the long answer to say I really want to, and I haven't yet.
Well, it would be very convenient for you since you could park at your office and walk
Absolutely.
over.
Mhm.
Well, what is your greatest hope for the aerospace industry in the coming years?
My greatest hope, the short answer is that the successor to the 737 gets built here. Just selfishly for us and our region, it makes sense that that next plane would get built in Washington State, whether it's in Snohomish County or at Renton, um, or somewhere else in the state. The long answer is that we are a state that is what I think of as program rich and system poor. And what I mean by that is that we've got great programs at community colleges, skills centers, K through 12, apprenticeship programs, but they're hard for young people to navigate and hard for people to understand how to enter a program and what they get out of that program and what they can expect. So we're program rich in that we've got all these programs, but the systems, while Career Connect Washington, I think, has done a great job in trying to build a system, we have a lot more to do so that it's really clear, whether it's aerospace or another industry, what young people entering our industry can expect, whether it's education, wages, quality of life, and what they get, whether it's what they get out of credentials and degrees or what they get out of the workplace, whether it's now, in 5 years, in 10 years. So building those systems, and I think the Center of Excellence can play a role in that.
Jason, one more question as a follow-up to that sentiment is regarding the messaging and getting that
Mhm.
message out to the youth. Is it to the youth and their parents? Is it to the youth and their teachers? Who needs to hear that message to bring them into the fold?
That's a great question because there are so many audiences, and we recognize that the way that, for example, young people consume information is much different than the way that their parents do or that teachers do. So, one thing we've tried to do in my first year is identify what the audiences are and how they might best be reached. And one group that we are taking the lead on is in school with school counselors. That might not be necessarily a large group or it might not be the first group that you think of, but they're that linchpin as young people are coming through 11th and 12th grade to say, 4 year college is great, 4 year college is important, engineering degrees are important, all kinds of degrees are important. If you think this might not be the right thing for you, there are alternatives, and those alternatives still include education, but they also include opportunities to work, understand what the workplace is like. So we've identified school counselors as a key constituency that we want to reach. We're building a new document called the Counselor's Guide to Apprenticeship. So oftentimes counselors don't know what apprenticeships such as AJAC or the Machinist Institute or a future apprenticeship at SPIA, what that encompasses. So we want to try to demystify that for counselors. It's a huge question, and it will take, as they say, a village to solve this. But that is one piece of this that we think the Center of Excellence can play a role in.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add regarding the Center of Excellence?
We debuted a new logo this week, so hope folks can take a look at our website. Wanted to update the look and feel of our website, make sure that it's mobile friendly, that it is current and provides information, whether that's information to industry, information to community colleges, information to students about the programs that are available to them, whether it's at a skills center, an apprenticeship, or at our community and technical colleges. So doing lots of good, exciting graphics work, and have a beautiful new logo. And we're going to have stickers and sweatshirts and swag and all that fun stuff like that.
Great. Well, Jason, thanks so much for coming to the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, if you're interested in learning more about the Center of Excellence for Aerospace, visit coeaerospace.com. Until next time, keep on engaging with the manufacturing and aerospace news you need to know in the Northwest with Northwest Aerospace News Magazine. Goodbye.